Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. Going to a public range today, there's going to be a lot of noise, so I'm kicking off this video here from the man cave. Just like the title and the thumbnail of this video says, today I'm checking out a new scope. I'm going to get you focused in on it here. This is the Crimson Trace BRUSHLINE Pro Slugger BDC reticle. So, Slugger BDC reticle, what does that mean? Well, I'm fixing to show you. I just put this scope on my slug gun. Check this out. I'll get it in here and focused on you, baby. So this is the Slugger here. As you can see, it says it right there on the scope. This is a Slugger model I just slapped on here. If you're not familiar with Crimson Trace, they're absolutely worth a look. Go check them out. I was introduced to Crimson Trace optics at SHOT Show this year and was able to put my eyeballs through pretty much every single model that they have. This one really piqued my interest because here in Tennessee, where I deer hunt, there are a lot of public land areas that are shotgun or muzzle loader only. This is my Weatherby slug gun. It's got the cantilever mount on it. I've taken more whitetail with this shotgun than I can even remember. This particular scope really piqued my interest. I said I got to get my hands on it and test it. That's what we're going to do today. But if you're not familiar with a BDC reticle, I'm going to pop something up on the screen right here and show you guys exactly why I think this is awesome and exactly how we're going to test it out today. So let me pull up their website here as I'm sitting here talking to you. Here's how it works. Let me pop up the reticle here. You sight it in with the crosshairs, and then you have holdover points built into the reticle. You can see they're A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, depending on the distance that you're trying to fling those big old slugs at. So what we're going to do here, here's how they have this reticle calibrated. So from the factory, you're supposed to use something similar to what they calibrated it with. They're saying something with a grain weight of 250 grains going around 1900 feet per second, and to zero that crosshair at 50 yards. So if you zero that at 50, the rest of those holdover points should be dead on. Dead on the crosshairs at 50, and then all the way down to the J mark being at 200 yards. So what we're going to do for this video, I just slapped this scope on this morning. What we're going to do for this video, I'm going to go out to the range, sight this in at 50 yards, and then we're going to do a couple of those hold points, probably 100 yards and 200 yard hold points, and see are our hits dead on after we put that crosshairs sighted in at 50. Are those holdover points in that BDC reticle going to stay true? So me personally, I think 200 yards, that's quite a stretch for a slug gun. Slug guns, in my experience, are not known to be precision instruments. Most of my shots with this thing have been 50 yards and in. But, hey, we're going to test out that BDC reticle. We're going to stretch it out all the way out to 200 yards with those holdover points. Let me show you the slugs I got for the video. If you guys hunt with slug guns, you're probably familiar with these. These are the Hornady SSTs. They're really common, meant to be used in rifle barrels. There you have it. These are the 300 grainers. So the Crimson Trace website says that this reticle is calibrated with a 250 grainer around 1900 feet per second. These are 300 grainers about 2000 feet per second. So a little bit faster and a little bit heavier. In my mind, that's going to equal out, and that reticle will probably still be pretty much dead on. But hey, we're fixing to find out. Let's go out to the range, get this thing sighted in at 50, and then we'll fling some of these big old heavy slugs with those holdover points. But if you're not familiar, why does it matter? I actually just Googled it before I turned the camera on. There are some states where you can only use a shotgun during firearm season. So in Tennessee, like I said, there are quite a few public land places around me where that's what we have to use. But I didn't realize there were so many states that are shotgun only. There's 10. 10 out of 50. What's that, 20%? Those slug guns states only are Illinois, Iowa, Ohio, Indiana, Maryland, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Delaware, Maine, and Rhode Island. I didn't realize that there were so many slug gun states, but there's 10 of them. So, even more reason why this is a really cool scope. But check it out. Let's go head to the range, and should be a whole lot of fun. I'm excited about this one. Alright, so out here at the range now, like I showed you on the reticle, with this BRUSHLINE Pro Slugger from Crimson Trace, the way they have the reticle set up is you sight in the crosshairs dead on at 50 yards. So that's what we got to do here first to get it on at 50 yards. Already bore sighted it at the house, just slapped this scope on this morning. Let's see where we're at. We'll get it dialed in at 50. And we'll stretch it out and see how that BDC works on my slugger. Hopefully the bore sight's good enough to get us on paper here. We'll hold on those black crosshairs I drew. We hit the paper. Looks like we need to come down about a foot and right. So make that adjustment, we'll take another shot. Hopefully I moved those clickers the right way. Oh yeah, we're headed in the right direction. Let me make a couple more clicks and we should be dead on at 50, and we'll stretch it out and see how that BDC works with this ammo. Let's go down 4 and right 4. Squared up on those crosshairs here at 50 yards. Remember, with this reticle, we're supposed to sight it at 50 yards, which is what I would have done anyways, even with a duplex reticle. Slug gun is not meant for going 1,000 yards. So here we go. 50 yards, we should be pretty near close here. I want to hit a little high. We're still going to bring it down here. Bring it down. Maybe I turned it the wrong direction that time. Actually, I think I did, looking at it now. We're just burning shells today. So that's up. We need to come down. Here we go. We're going to keep bringing it down a bit because it's got to be sighted in pretty close to 50 for that BDC holdover to work right. Now we hit that same hole. Let's do a bunch down. I'm going to really focus on my trigger squeeze here, but hey, if that deer was at 50 yards, we'd already have them loaded up in the truck here now. But let's take another one here at 50. We got to have that hit pretty close to those crosshairs before we can stretch it out using that BDC here. See where this one hits. Alright, so you know what I just realized? I was doing those adjustments like we were at 100 yards. So I was only doing half the adjustment that I thought I was. It's not very often where I sight stuff in at 50 yards. That was the problem. Now it all makes sense. So that last one hit just above the crosshairs. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down just a couple more. Somebody should have told me, you're at 50 yards, man, not 100. So now we're on at 50. Let me put these scope caps back on before I lose them. And let me pop up that reticle, and I'm going to bring it up on my phone here. Alright, now that we're sighted in at 50 yards, our hit at 100, I should be holding with the B holdover. That's the middle of the first diamond there. So let's try that at 100 yards. I got a target out there at 100 using the B and see where we hit. See what happens. See if the calibration works with this ammo. It's the closest stuff I could find to what this reticle is calibrated for. So let's take a few hits at 100 and see what happens. I really like the concept of the BDC reticles because, especially when you're hunting out in the field, you don't have to sit there and get your yardage and then be dialing on your scope. You just bring it up, find the animal, boom, very, very quick adjustment when you're out there hunting. Now, we pop up that B spot again, show you where I'm holding. With that B at 100 yards, see how close we are here. And remember, we got 9 zoomies on this baby. Do my best to have a good squeeze here using that B hold in the reticle. 100 yards. We'll probably just send a few while we're out here. Hey, I'm impressed. So we sighted it in at 50, then I held that B at 100, dead on. Let's take another one. These shells are kind of hard to come by, but we got to do this for science. Let me take another shot with that B holdover. Pretty cool stuff here, guys. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, that was a good trigger squeeze. And you can see there, hey, we're right there on the money at 100 yards. This is actually really impressing me. Now let's go out to 200. Let me bring up the reticle on my phone here again. What's the 200 mark? Now these are, how heavy were these? 300 grain slugs. They drop like a rock, okay? So between 100 and 200 is a lot of drop. So it says to hold at 200 yards, it's going to be the J hold, which is the very bottom in the black. But you can see there, if you were hunting, you yard them at 150, you use E, so on and so forth. But for this next one, my next target is at 200 yards. We're going to use that top of that black column there for 200. Let's fling them. That's real life. See what works out here. See what we can do here. Now, like I said, super impressed with this reticle at 100 yards. We're right there in the money. That's smoke a deer. At 200 yards, we're really stretching the limits of a slug gun. Me personally, if I saw a deer at 200 yards and I was hunting with this, I wouldn't take the shot. But we're not here hunting, we're out here testing this reticle. So I'm gonna do that bottom J hold here. I'll pop it up on the screen again so you can see what I'm looking at. I'm gonna hold the J mark and see where we hit here. Alright, so that hit a shade high, but again, 9-power zoom scope at 200 yards with a slug gun. Let's send a second one and see where this one hits. See what kind of group we can get. I've never even fired this at 200 yards because me personally, 200 yards with a slug gun is kind of ridiculous. But like I said, we're testing out this reticle, so we got to see what we can do. Send a couple more here. Now that one felt like a good trigger squeeze. A little bit low. Let's send one more. While we're out here, let's send one more at 200, see how good I can do. So far, I've got confidence in the reticle just based off of the 50-yard sight-in and the holdover at 100. But let's send another at 200. And, hey, that one hit square on my target where I was holding. So our average there is right on the money. We got one high, one low, and one right spot on. So that could just be the difference of my abilities with this slug gun and this heavier trigger than the rifles we're used to. But hey, just for fun, let's do a few more at 100. This is a whole lot of fun. I got to save a couple shells for deer season here, but this is fun. Let me look it back up. What was the 100-yard hold? The 100-yard hold was B. Bringing it back to, okay, B. That's that the middle of that top diamond. So let's send another one. I know there's no way at all that this scope is moving. I torqued all of this myself this morning with these Wheeler rings. If I didn't show you that already, super sweet rings. Let me send one more at 100 with that B hold. Go back to that B hold and see if we can put some more in that group we did a little bit ago. This is a whole lot of fun. Here's my 100-yard target. I'm going to use that B hold in the reticle here. We were putting them in there before. We ought to be able to do it again. And it's still putting them in there. So there you have it, guys. Looks like I got about a box and a half left. We're going to save that for deer season. Alright guys, so back from the range. I'll be the first one to tell you, I was skeptical of that, but now after we went out there and tested it, hey, the proof is in the video footage. I'm sold on it. That Crimson Trace Slugger BDC scope is never going to leave that slug gun. So I'm sold on it. Now I've got to go find some more of those shells because I flung a whole bunch of them out there and I'm down to like one box. But let's show you what happened real quick out there. So first I sighted it in at 50 yards, hit up here, and that kept making some adjustments. For some reason, in my head we were at 100. I sight everything in at 100 yards, all the centerfire rifles, so that's when the last 100 things I've sighted in at 100 yards. So I was only clicking the scopes half as much as I should have, but we finally got her there and got it sighted in at 50 yards. Then we took it out to 100. Where's our 100 target? I don't even remember how many shots this was, but that holdover point, 1, 2, 3, at least 3 shots there. Right there on the money using that holdover. What? Let me pull up their sight here again real quick. So for 100 yards we were using the holdover point B. I'll pop that up on the screen real quick. So holdover point B was at 100 yards and it worked. If you're not familiar with slugs and never used them before, they drop like a sack of potatoes. So we sighted it in at 50 and then held over with that B point. Hey, and that BDC reticle did what it was supposed to do. We just smoked that deer with that bowling ball slug. Every single trigger squeeze on that baby. But now, after 100 yards, I'll pop up that reticle again. A, B, C, D. There's all those holdover points, which is really important because, like I said, that slug is dropping fast. You can't just guess with the slug. You gotta know where it's gonna land. So, and I'm pretty sure I said it in the video, 200 yards, that's a stretch for a slug gun, guys. They're dropping so fast, and in my experience, slug guns are not that consistent. So you might have a single shot that you can put them in the same hole at 200 yards every time. I've never found one that does that, but my slug gun and my trigger squeeze, it's a pretty heavy trigger squeeze on that shotgun compared to like a precision long range centerfire. Our average hit there was dead on. And where were we holding? The hold with that was J. I'll pop up the reticle again. That bottom, that top of that black column. Flung these. We had one hit right on the money, one hit up here, and one down there, with me doing my best at 200 yards. But we had one that would have smoked that deer, and then our average of those two others is still right there on the mark. Really surprised me that I could get that at 200 yards, but hey, I'm impressed. And then we brought it back and took some more shots at 100. But me, in my experience, I would never take a 200-yard shot with that slug gun, just because I know from my experience that the ammo is just not consistent. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know if you're in one of those slug gun states. But hey, we tested it today and I'm impressed. I'm never taking this scope off of this thing. The holdover points, they just worked. I really was skeptical, but hey, if you're a shotgunner for the deers, check this thing out. I'll put some links somewhere where you can find it real easy and get to it fast. But the Crimson Trace Slugger BDC scope, it worked out good for me today. So stay tuned. I'm sure this season we'll probably smoke a whitetail with this baby. That'll be a whole lot of fun. But there you have it. Crimson Trace BRUSHLINE Pro Slugger. It's a pretty sweet optic. I'd say if you're in one of those shotgun states, you definitely need to pick one of these things up. But appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Comment down below what you want to see next time. Appreciate y'all. Hooty-hoo!